You are live.
Awesome. All right. Hello, everybody. We thank you so much for joining us. We are really glad. Before we get started, well, our topic that we're going to talk about is basically why should you come to a Christian college? Why is Christian higher education worth it? And so before we get started, I want everyone to just introduce themselves real fast. So my name is Daniel. I'm an admissions counselor at Hannibal-LaGrange University. And yeah, I'm super excited to be talking to you guys today. All right. Natalie, do you want to go next?
Yes, my name is Natalie, and I am the Associate Director for Undergraduate Admissions at Southwest Baptist University. And I'm also super excited to talk about this topic today.
Awesome.
Hi. Hi, I'm Lauren Krebs. I'm from Missouri Baptist University. I'm a freshman counselor, and I also have a special guest. Aaron, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Aaron Lumpkin. I'm the Associate Dean of Students here at MBU and excited to be part of the conversation tonight.
And I am Michaela Clamon. I work at Hannibal-LaGrange University with Daniel. And I will be the question facilitator tonight. I work as our visit coordinator as well. So ask me all your questions.
Awesome. So like Michaela said, there's a Q&A button. If you have any questions for any of us, anytime during the presentation, just shoot those questions in the Q&A and we'll do our best to answer them. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with all of you guys. Awesome. And here is our topic today. So basically, if you join this, we're talking about why in the world should you come to a Christian college versus maybe like a state school or some other school. And so me and my colleagues have come up with 3 reasons why we think Christian higher education is worth it. Each of the different schools are going to present on one topic. And I'm going to go first and talk about Christian worldview and why that matters. But before we unpack that, I first kind of want to define and give you guys a picture of what in the world is worldview. And so I want to start with this question. Just answer this quickly in your mind. When you guys stare at this picture, what do you see? So what I see a German Shepherd. I see a dog, but I also see a pet. I'm not a huge dog person, but my family growing up had a pet. My neighbors had a dog as a pet. And that's kind of how I see this picture. But I've also been in other cultures where there's dogs roaming the streets. And there's a lot of dogs around this one restaurant. And when I walked into one restaurant, on the menu there was a lot of different dishes with dog meat in it. And so someone from that culture might see this picture and they say, oh, I see a dog. I see a German Shepherd, but I also see livestock. I see food. Maybe the same way someone in America might look at a cow and see, oh, I see a hamburger, or I see livestock. But I've also been in other cultures where I'm walking the streets and there's a lot of dogs there, and the people there view dogs as a threat. There's things that will come and bite your legs if you're not careful, and maybe bite your kids, and you have to be really careful around dogs. And so within that, we're all looking at the exact same picture. We're seeing the same thing, but we all see a dog, we all see a German Shepherd, but we're also seeing other things. I see a pet, someone from another culture might see food, another culture might see just a really big threat. And so why in the world is that? And it's basically from our worldview. And what a worldview is, basically it's the most fundamental basic ideas and assumptions that we have about the world. And those ideas and basic assumptions create this lens and this filter through which we interpret the whole world. So we're in a very technology-driven age, and so we really understand, like when we're posting pictures to Facebook or Instagram, like we can put filters on it. You can make a picture have cool colors on it. You can make it have warm colors on it. You can make it black and white. You can do a lot of different things the picture itself is the exact same thing. I use this example of this picture that I took of a city in Asia. And it's the exact same picture, but there's different filters over it that just make it look a little bit different. And that's basically what a worldview is. It's these basic ideas and assumptions that are really fundamental to who we are, and it creates this lens through which we interpret the rest of the world. And so you might be asking, Daniel, like, what in the world does this have to do with college, and especially like Christian college? But I want to stress to you guys, there's this filter, and every single person has it. You have it. I have a filter that I see the world through. And you guys, as high school students, have probably already experienced this. Your professors also have this lens through which they're seeing the world. And it's going to be the exact same way when you go to college. Your college professors are going to have these basic ideas and assumptions about the world, and they're going to teach their subjects through those basic ideas and assumptions. And so what I want to really encourage you guys is that it's really important to learn from a Christian worldview, especially, so if you are a Christian watching this and you have ingrained in you just these ideas about what is true, I think it's really important to learn from a similar worldview, especially when it comes to your education. And so, yeah, this is kind of abstract, but I really want to give you guys two really concrete examples of why this is important and what this might look like in the classroom. So my first example is going to be with business. And so whether you go to, say, one of our Christian institutions or colleges, or whether you go to a state school, and you study business at either of those schools, you're going to study pretty much the same things. You're going to be studying business management. You're going to be studying marketing, the basics of accounting, statistics, economics, and the subject doesn't really change between those things. But the perspective through which your professor is teaching those, it really does change. So let's use the example that I'm going to use a little bit of extremes here, but maybe someone who's an atheist who doesn't believe in God at all at a state school is teaching you business. They're going to be teaching you these exact same business principles, management, marketing, accounting, and all those things. And they're going to do this from a basic assumptions. And let's say they have a more of an evolutionistic worldview. So they believe like, hey, our species has evolved. It's more of the idea of the survival of the fittest. And so they're teaching you these business principles, but they're teaching you to, hey, you really need to climb the corporate value. Their basic ideas and assumptions is that, hey, maybe the good life is having a house and money and a family and maybe helping others on the side. And those are all fantastic things. But ultimately, it's about you and you getting to the top of the business world, no matter what it takes. And so maybe there's these ideas. They're teaching you the same exact principles that they would at any other school, but they're teaching you from this worldview, this basic ideas and assumptions that influence what they teach. And so at a Christian college, or even just a Christian professor, even that if that is at some other school, they're going to teach you the exact same things. They're going to teach you business management, marketing, the basics of accounting, but they're going to do that from this fundamental, having these fundamental ideas and beliefs that, hey, God exists. He's created us. He loves us. He loves other people, and he really wants us to make a difference in the world and love others. And so these business professors are going to be teaching you all these business skills, but they're going to be doing that and say, hey, and showing you how to use these skills to serve others and to glorify God in what you do. And so there's a huge difference, even though you're studying the exact same thing, and that's because of the worldview that your professors hold. And so I want to use one more example as well, just the example of maybe a biology class. So in a biology class, exact same thing, whether in a state school or at a Christian university, you're probably going to be studying very similar things. I use the example here of photosynthesis and the makeup of a cell. And those are going to be pretty much the same no matter where you go, of how you study those. But from a Christian worldview, that professor is going to teach that class and those subjects from this idea that, hey, God's created the world. He's created the world with meaning and purpose, and he's made it really complex. And so when your professor is teaching you about how a cell is made up, they're going to be like, wow, your body's made of these things. God's made you so complex, and you have a purpose in life. And that gives so much meaning. And when you're studying photosynthesis from that same worldview, maybe it's like, wow, God's created the world, and he's created it in a way that gives life. And that's an amazing application to that. And so from an atheistic worldview of our saying, it's again extreme on the extreme other side of Christian worldview, but those basic assumptions, hey, God doesn't exist, we're random chance. You're saying those same things, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. But you're also like, there's not really a purpose to this. This is just the world surviving. And so I hope those examples give you a little bit of a picture of kind of what that looks like, of what it means to study from a Christian worldview. And especially if you're coming from a Christian background where those ideas and basic ideas and assumptions about the world are really important to you, it is really important to learn from professors that have a similar worldview and are able to say, hey, we're teaching you these skills and disciplines, but here's how you really can use that to glorify God in your field, whether that's computer science, whether that's going into pre-med, whether that's studying marketing, whatever you're doing. Christian professors are able to apply that to your faith, and that I think is super valuable. So that's the first point of why you should study at a Christian university. And I'm going to hand it over to Lauren, my friend from Missouri Baptist University, and she's going to hit on the next point for us. So.
Thank you so much, Daniel. So this next point, we're going to kind of go over through how intentional relationships, individualized attention, and a community with Christian values really has a transformational experience. So Aaron, I'm going to kind of pass it on to you.
Yeah, sure. So again, my name is Aaron Lumpkin. I'm an Associate Dean of Students at MBU. I've been here about 3 years. And you see on the slide here that this is kind of a slogan that I've tried to live by. I learned this when I was in college. If it's Christian, it ought to be better. And so when we think about doing Christian higher education, we think that education really ought to be better than just the education you can get at a secular institution, because ours is distinctly Christian. There's something about God's call in our lives, in the way that he wants us to live and relate to others, that we pursue things with excellence. And so we want to strive to do that in our universities. And one of the things that we really hit home on, particularly within Christian higher education, is the idea of discipleship and growing in your faith, owning your faith. You know, a lot of the reasons why we believe different things that we do, and a lot of those Daniel's just alluded to, is we believe things because of culture. It's what is being taught to us on social media and online and in games and in our networks and all these different things. It bleeds into our lives, and we just gradually obtain those beliefs because of the culture that we are raised in. I was raised in the South, so you may hear some Southern twangs come out in a little bit. We just gradually learn these things from being around them. But we also learn things and believe things out of convenience. Some of us hate conflict, so we're going to believe whatever's easiest. Whatever the convenient thing is for us to believe, that at times can be the reason why. But what we really want to see happen within Christian higher education is that you really own your convictions. Rather than culture, rather than convenience, you're really developing and building out your convictions. And that really happens both at the broad level through Christian higher education and the curriculum that you go through, but also at the micro level in the relationships that you make with your peers while you're here on campus, but also with your professors and the mentoring that happens there. So I want to tell you a little bit about kind of our process for trying to help students grow in this model of discipleship. I think Lauren can maybe move that slide for us, or someone maybe. Awesome. It's just this idea of discipleship is meant to be transformative. And if we are Christians doing Christian higher education, then our education itself ought to be transformational. And so this is kind of the framework that some of us operate with here at MBU. So I want to tell you a little about it. First is the idea of knowing and being. When you come to a college, you are beginning to really discover yourself, your past passions, your interest, and really on a quest to discover your purpose in many ways. Some of you think you've already got it figured out, and that could be great. Just to give you a heads up, God likes to change your plans. And but others of you are more eager to see what's going to happen. You're excited about these next steps. And so really phase one of the transformational experience is this idea of understanding who you are and who God has designed you to be. And that often happens in those one-on-one mentoring relationships that we have here with our professors and with peers. We emphasize that really a lot because transformation happens in community, and we want to be intentional with that community. And as you begin to understand yourself and you're growing in these different ways, you're beginning to become who God has designed you to be. We want you to see that when you come to a Christian institution. Who does God want you to be? One who loves and follows God and who has a passion to love and serve others. And so as you're becoming this person, and you're, as the scripture says, ironing, sharpening iron, you're working in those relationships, you're learning how to think carefully about your studies and the field that interests you, while also at the same time seeing how your faith influences that. You're becoming who God has designed you to be. And what we know about that, and what the scripture teaches us, is that we're designed to be servants. God has called us to serve. So we transition from stage 2 really to stage 3, which is, yes, you're growing, but then you're also really serving. You know, the scripture describes how Jesus came to earth in really 3 particular ways. He says he came to seek and to save the lost. It says he came not to be served, but to serve. And it also says he came eating and drinking. And I like the last one there, he came eating and drinking, because what that tells us is that he understood that transformation happens through relationship, through meals, sitting down and talking with each other, spending time with one another. And that's what our faculty do. I had a student in my office earlier today. We were talking about life goals and plans and whether or not she may be called to the mission field. God uses conversations from class to small meetings in offices to really shape and mold you into who he wants you to be. And that next step from serving, as you begin to serve and care for others, it's then multiplying. So the desire for God's plan in our lives is one of multiplication, that we are disciples who make disciples. And so the Christian higher education experience is really meant to be an academic community of disciple makers. We're growing to make more disciples, and that means as you learn to be who God's designed you to be and to serve how God wants you to serve, you begin to multiply yourself and see your ability to influence others to see lives changed all around the world. So that's kind of our understanding of the transformational experience that we would hope that you would have at a Christian higher ed institution. Now, what Lauren's going to do, and this is the fun part, Lauren's going to tell you about how that's actually happened in her life. So Lauren, you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you so much, Erin. So before coming to MU, I was a transfer student, so I didn't start at a Christian university. And so I had a relationship with God that I thought he was this almighty power, and I had to work my way to get to heaven. So this kind of gave me the perspective, and kind of referring back to Daniel, that I had to not only earn my love from God, but from others. And this kind of had a chain reaction. I started people pleasing and never really felt like I knew who I was or what God was really calling me to do, or that I was enough. And I feel like this is a struggle among a lot of high school students kind of transitioning to college. And so coming to MBU, we do chapel, which I'm guessing Southwest Baptist and Hannibal-LaGrange, you guys have a similar thing where we worship it, and then a speaker comes and kind of works through the Bible and explains what it means. And through that, I saw this fire through these musicians and speakers, and I was like, I want that. Like, what do they have that I'm missing? And So I began to take a deeper dive into my faith and walk with a great community at MBU, and I was able to ask questions and had this strong support system as I walked with this newfound faith of knowing the Father and Jesus and trying to wrap my head around how they love me with just for me. And so not too long after that, I started really diving into my faith, and I stayed after class one day to ask a professor a question. And after answering my question, she said to me, she's like, I see you as being one of these top students in the program. And I know this is like a really subtle phrase, but in that moment, it meant so much to me. And at that like moment, I actually pivoted. So prior to that, school was just something that I did, and I got my homework done and called it quits. And after my professor did that, I began to take class with a different perspective of, I can't wait to learn. And it really changed me from being the student that didn't really care about school to I love what I'm doing. And I know you're like, oh, that's a really cool story, Lauren, but truly at that point I pivoted and I began the journey of finding out who I truly was and how much I had let my peers around me dictate my actions and what God was calling me to do. So referring back to what Aaron said about knowing and being surrounded by professors who are looking to have those intentional relationships and with you and really walk beside you to connect your meaning and purpose in your life is just such a true difference maker. So as I got deeper into my exercise science classes, we had multiple classes that made you really explain your why and behind the career you're seeking. So at that time, mine was occupational therapy. And after hours of contemplating and digging, I could not come up with an answer besides I wanted to help people. So here I am a year before graduating and I have no idea what I want to do. And within our classes, they have, you have to go and serve in different areas. So in my physical adaptive PE class, I had to volunteer with an organization that worked with individuals with physical disabilities. So I found a Paralympic sport club and I fell in love with this work. And so after volunteering for a while, I found that I had a natural ability to work with this adaptive world and loved helping others really focus on what they can do and not focusing on what they can't do. So as Aaron discussed, knowing and becoming brought me to a different path than I intended, but I got to discover more about myself, and the more I found my talents and passions were not exactly the occupational therapy route, but it was more helping individuals meet their highest potential. So this fit perfectly with the Paralympic sport world, and it brought me from volunteering once a week to interning to I actually got a job with them, and I worked for them for the past 2 years. So I felt like this gave me a chance to serve, and I owe that to MOBAP and I think Christian universities as a whole, because that showed me that we are on this earth to serve, and through our strengths and passions, God really put that in my heart. So in August, I was offered to come back to MBU to be a freshman counselor, which I could not be more grateful for, and given me the opportunity to serve freshmen and now to speak to all to you tonight as they walk through this journey of transitioning into college, and I get to share my journey and how going to a Christian university had such an amazing impact on me personally. So I just actually got to start with a Bible study with the women's soccer team, and it's just really cool to see that there's so many different resources and opportunities for you as going to a Christian college university. So if you would ask me, is a Christian university worth it? I would say absolutely yes, and I will be forever grateful for my time at MBU as a student and now as a staff member. And with that, I'm going to throw it over to Natalie from Southwest Baptist University, and she's going to take a deeper look into how Christian universities take a holistic approach.
Wow. Thanks so much, Lauren. That was so good. Thanks for sharing that. So I'm super excited to be a part of this conversation about the value of Christian higher education, and to speak to its worth. And an aspect that I think is so unique and valuable about Christian higher ed is that our institutions are really focused on helping students grow in every area of their life. So I know that's been hit on a little bit already, but we don't just want to have exceptional accountants and teachers and programmers, but people who are really equipped to be successful in every area of their lives. So academically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, financially. We want to equip our students to go out and impact the world for Christ, and then be able to balance all of these different areas of their life. So these next slides that we're going to jump into are going to dive a little bit deeper into how our students are equipped to do this. So the first one being academically. So many Christian higher ed institutions offer a wide range of programs and majors to choose from. So you have sciences and technologies and education and nursing. So academically, our students are going to be challenged by rigorous courses with a strong general education curriculum. So it's kind of common for students to maybe say like, oh, like, I just want to get through my gen ed classes or kind of get those out of the way. But those are truly about half of your undergraduate program and where a lot of fundamental development takes place. So the core curriculum found at a Christian liberal arts university is going to be so valuable in helping students to become great critical thinkers, creative, well-rounded, and just aid in that student's markability, and then also prepare them for their specific degree and skill set that they're going to get into a little bit deeper as they work along in their major. And so students have opportunities to attend conferences, to be a part of academic organizations like a pre-health society or social work club or different honor societies that are on campus, as well as participate in honors programs. So I know in high school that's really common to like, oh, I'm on the honors track, but there are also honors programs at the university level, and something that kind of gives an extra edge and maybe challenges our students a little bit more when they're a part of those programs. So students are definitely going to be challenged, but they're not going to be doing it alone. And I think that's really important in what's like sets a Christian university apart. Just with the small class sizes that Christian universities are able to offer, academic help is really like right around the corner for students. So we have academic advising available to students, mentorship and tutoring programs, writing centers, study sessions, and kind of like Lauren described, accessibility to professors, that you're not just a number in these professors' classes, but that you're somebody that they're getting to know and building a relationship with. So if you do choose to go to a Christian university, take advantage of the fact that your professors are available to talk with you about what's going on in your coursework, but then also what's going on in your life. So a student actually was sharing with me yesterday that one of her professors checked in on her while she was in quarantine. And we're just kind of in like a crazy time right now. And it meant the world to her. And as she was kind of describing it, you could tell like it meant a lot that somebody reached out to her that didn't have to, like it wasn't her mom, like, but this professor reached out and you know, showed that he cared and wanted to see how things were going, not only in the classroom, but also just like with mental health. So we'll go to the next slide now. So that's part of like being at a Christian university. So we know that a lot of your life happens outside of the classroom. So while we're preparing our students academically, we also want them to thrive physically and emotionally, and also just to have fun and have a good time. So we have gym facilities for students to take care of their bodies and get exercise that they need, fitness classes that are available, opportunities for intramural and collegiate sports, health services, and especially in view of the pandemic and everything, I really watched our campus pivot to do our best to keep students safe by daily updating like our COVID dashboard, Health kits were provided at the beginning of the semester to each student. And then even like shifting when our breaks were going to be, so that we could finish the semester a little bit early, to get students back home and with their families. And I know that all the universities represented here today have had similar pivots. And I think it's really natural that a Christian university would do their best to do this well, because there's a natural emphasis anyway on loving our students in a way that glorifies Christ, and truly care for our students. So, and then also emotionally, mental health is so important, and it's important, especially for college students when there are lots of stress and like finals and all of those things that are going on, and some like really heavy topics. So a lot of campuses offer free counseling services. And then SBU just recently implemented a service, and it's called Talk Campus. And so that's where students can receive 24/7 mental health support through this app. So that's been a neat thing to see. And I really hope our students take advantage of that. And then on the next slide, talking a little bit about spiritual growth, which has been talked about several times, but you know, one of our greatest desires is for our students to grow in their walk with Christ during their time on campus. And we know that that's going to prepare them for whatever comes next in their life and whatever's next on their journey. Having that solid foundation in the Lord is really setting them up well for the future. And so there are many ways that this takes place on campus. Chapel services, like Lauren mentioned, Bible studies, coffee shop talks, guest speakers that are coming, mission and service opportunities, groups like Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And then also in like our core curriculum, there are probably a few classes that you'll take at a Christian higher ed institution that are specific to that school. So I know here we have New Testament and Old Testament history, and also spiritual formation class. And so those three classes are a part of our core curriculum that every student takes, and that really helps aid in that lane of a solid foundation. I know our mission trips are usually a really defining point for our students in their lives. And so some of these are local trips, some of them are within the US, and then we have students that go, you know, internationally all over the world, like Thailand and the Philippines. So a lot of opportunities to take what you're learning and then share that globally. So, and then I think the next one, we're just kind of talking a little bit about your growth socially. So again, college is so fun, and we want you to build friendships that last a lifetime, and they really do. And so getting involved in a club or attending activities is a really good way to enrich and take care of your social life on campus. So from like disc golf to rock climbing and intramural sports, there are lots of ways to get plugged into those clubs. And you know, Christian higher ed institutions are diverse, with students represented from all over the world, many different countries, many different states in the US, a lot of different backgrounds. So when you're stepping foot, you know, on a college campus, you're really going to be immersing yourself in a lot of different cultures. And so again, just kind of taking advantage of that unique time in your life to really get to learn from others. And I think this picture of Lisette, her name's Lisette Placencia. She was a 2015 SBU grad, and she's a really great example of kind of being well-rounded on campus and growing in a lot of different areas. So she was an international student from Peru, but then also a junior college transfer. So she's kind of hitting two different groups there. Was an athlete and played basketball on campus, but then also got involved in business organizations as an international business major. And so being a part of a lot of different areas on campus, and was able to like balance all of that through like the help of having like support from coaches. And so anyway, she's an associate account manager now for Nestle Nutrition. But And the very last thing I want to talk just a little bit on is finances, because we want to set you up for success financially as well. And so when you heard the topic of this conversation, is Christian higher ed worth it? You might have thought, yeah, I already know Christian higher ed is worth it. I just don't know if I can afford it. And so I think the good news is there are lots of financial aid opportunities available to make a private Christian education a reality for you and for your family. And so the first step is to not be intimidated by the sticker price and to kind of take a step and jump in and see what scholarships really are available to you. So you can do that by applying to several different schools that you're considering, and then filing your FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. And that allows you to see if you qualify for aid from the government. And so doing those two things is going to get you started to see like what opportunities you have financially at an institution. So while HLG, MBU, and SBU will all be like a little bit different with financial aid, the one thing that'll be the same is we have one-on-one personalized attention from our admissions offices. So there's somebody there to walk you through that process. So if you're considering Christian higher ed and it's just the price that you're nervous about, I'd encourage you, go ahead, take a step and see what aid is available to you, because you might be surprised. I know I have a sibling who's at SBU. I'm one of 5 students in our family. And so for 2 of us to go to a Christian higher education institution, I know that was like the Lord working and providing financially, because that's a lot of kids. So take a step, see what's available to you, and we are here for you. And we want to make the dream of attending a Christian university that supports you in all these different areas of your life and cares about your faith and how you're growing. We really do want to make that a reality. So, yeah.
I'm going to step in real quick. Can you guys hear me okay, I hope? I'm going to step in real quick. We have a really good question regarding scholarships, and I think it's going to be different for each institution in this specific question. And so I'm going to let each of us, I think we're running out of time, so we're going to have to answer somewhat quickly. But our question is, do we have do we take outside scholarships, and how would that work? And if not, how would we help combat that, and all of those different things? So can we each give maybe like a quick little answer to the outside scholarship question? I guess, Daniel, we can start with you.
Yeah, sure. So the answer to that question is yes. At Hannibal-LaGrange University, we give everyone an academic scholarship. If you come here, you automatically get at least that scholarship, and then 2 stackable scholarships as well in addition to that. And then in terms of outside scholarships, so from your community, if you're like, you go in from the Rotary Club or any of those other type of scholarships, yeah, you can bring in as many of those as you want. Really, we've had students take care of the entire, I think we had a student this past year who took care of everything but $2,000 off of the entire price for his university from outside scholarships. So you can really apply for as many as you want and then bring in as many as you get. We really encourage that. So awesome. Natalie, do you want to go next?
Yes, we take outside scholarships. That's a great way to help pay for school.
Yes, we take outside scholarships as well.
Michaela, I think you're muted potentially.
I am muted. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for telling me that. Real quick, in like 2 minutes, another question that we can answer is dorms. How do dorms work at a Christian university? Are they co-ed? Are they not? Is it fun? Etc. So I guess we can go in the same order and answer real quickly in our last few minutes. So Daniel, you want to start again?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, at Hannibal-LaGrange University, we have 4 different dorms. They're all separated by gender, so we just have a male dorm and a female dorm. And yeah, they're a ton of fun. When I was in college, the guys on my floor became my family and community, and it was like I had 30 other brothers. So it's a really great time for community. But yeah, we do separate those by gender. So
Yeah,
awesome.
also at SBU, we don't have any co-ed dorms, and I think students really have a great time with dorm life. We have resident directors and resident assistants that are living in the dorm with students, so they're available to answer questions and then also just to help foster a fun, life-giving community.
Yes, and at MBU we have very similar that Daniel and Natalie just said. I think that with our RAs and different things, they're very big brother, big sister kind of feel, as well as I've heard countless stories of how many individuals that left with lifelong friends and are just so thankful for that community that they had here at MBU.
Awesome. I think that's all the questions that we have time for. So we'll wrap it up, I guess.
Thank you everyone for attending the session. Again, we apologize for the delayed start, but I think that it was well worth the wait. It was wonderful to hear you all speak about Christian education. So thank you very much. Students and families, thank you for attending. You'll receive a quick survey, 4-question survey following the session. We ask that you complete that so that we can help evaluate our sessions moving forward. We do have a whole nother 3 weeks of sessions. So please look back at the MOACAC schedule and considering signing up for additional sessions. And this session has also been recorded and it will post on the MOACAC website in the next couple days. Thank you again to everyone that attended, and we look forward to seeing you at other sessions. Have a great evening.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.